Hello friends, and welcome to the energy update for August 2023. I hope the month is starting off great for you. In our session today, we're going to be doing things a little bit differently. I'm going to be giving you this message that is coming through as usual, but I also picked some tarot cards before I hit record here. And I don't want to be spending so much time on the cards. I want to be giving you more of a practical experience to really integrate this message that we're receiving. And so we're going to have a brief meditation after I share this theme. And really, I'm doing this because it's how I work with my clients too. When I bring in messages, when I channel them from my higher mind, from spirit, I'm just doing it for them. It's just the higher mind and them. I'm typically not pulling tarot cards. It is helpful for these videos because it helps organize my mind in a better way, especially since we're working with a large community here with Falcon Healing Arts. So this message is a general one geared toward all of you. So when I'm doing a more specific reading for a client, I feel like I don't need this as much. So again, we are still going to be doing the tarot cards. I actually picked a new deck because I feel like changing things up pretty drastically in this session, as you will see. And I think you're really going to enjoy it. I'm excited. So the major theme that's coming through is highly influenced by the full moon on August 1st. I'm recording this on July 31st, so if you're seeing it the first day I publish, that's today. And the full moon is in the sign of Aquarius, which is an air sign. Air signs typically have to do with the mind, with thought, with intuition, with higher guidance. And I feel like usually this is what happens, is events that are coming up in the beginning of the month tend to flavor the whole month. And so this full moon is giving us a lot to work with. And I'm seeing this as this struggle really between the ego and the higher mind. The ego can be wrapped up with how we're being perceived by other people, being a little too rigid with your ideals, having a more negative mindset can also be more ego-driven as a way to protect you. And so when we're working with the higher mind, we're tapping into this bigger perspective that doesn't care as much about other people. It's your mission that is leading. So the higher mind is guiding you into who you are wanting to develop into, what your soul is really wanting. But of course, we need to be making conscious decisions. We need to be following this higher mind instead of getting stuck in what the ego would prefer to focus on. So, I know the saying, get your mind out of the gutter. It usually has to do with sexual innuendo, making something that's really innocent into something that's naughty or sexual. But that's not what I mean here. I feel like we need to pull the mind out of the gutter that the ego places us in. It's using the mind in an unhelpful, unproductive way. So I feel like that is happening a lot right now. Honestly, there's people who are focusing on really stupid shit. And it needs to get to that point where it's confronting, like, oh my God, what am I placing all my thoughts on? Where am I placing this energy? Most people don't realize how powerful their thoughts are. This is the seed that starts everything. It's what propels things forward. I mean, I would probably say that it's the heart first, especially when you're being led from the higher mind. There's this heartfelt desire to connect, and that connects with the mind, and then we move forward. We act on that idea. But typically I feel like the heart is not in the equation when it's just from the ego mind and acting on that. So consider that. I wrote down some notes I want to stick to so I don't forget anything. As I opened up to this, it was just coming in very quick and felt so right. And that's reminding me of something that we could all be focusing on more. We get these little thoughts in our head every day that are leading us. And I do believe these are from the higher mind. And how do we know they're from the higher mind? Again, it's from how you feel in the heart. And this is a very simple example. The other day, I was getting dressed and I went to put on this one tank top, and I saw in my mind's eye a different one. Instead of the white one I was going to put on, I saw the brown one, and I was like, wow, where the hell did this image come from? I'm going to listen to it. And I put on that tank top and it felt really good. The other one kind of makes me feel a little frumpy. So I was like, oh, this is a good change. I haven't worn this in a while. So again, that's a really simple one, but we're getting these messages all the day when we're getting thoughts or feelings of what we can be eating, what we can be doing next. And how do we know that's the right message? It's how we feel in our heart. We know when it's right. And maybe you should just try it, because I feel like a lot of people don't follow these messages, this train of thought, because they're worried that this is not the higher mind, or they don't understand what the higher mind is even. Maybe they just think it's a thought. Maybe it's something that brings up fear or guilt, and so they think it's wrong. I mean, if you're feeling that in the heart, then maybe that isn't the right decision. Maybe that isn't the higher mind, because typically the messages we get don't feel that way. It's like, oh, yes, that's exactly what I need to do. But it may not be that strong. It depends on how in tune you are with yourself, with your mind. It depends on how much you meditate, honestly, to give these thoughts more attention and value. So consider that. And starting your day with a very brief meditation. One thing that you can do that's very simple is just to connect with your higher self and ask to be led. Ask to be led throughout the day to what is your higher purpose. And when you start the day that way, you're most likely to follow, or you're most likely to remember. When a thought does come in, you'll recollect that that was part of your intention that morning. So look at the messages you're getting more seriously. Decide what feels aligned or not. Because again, not everything coming through is from the higher mind. If the struggle between the ego and the higher mind is pretty strong, if you're pretty strong on the ego side, then maybe that's where the mind is most of the time. So it's important for you to see that. That's important for us all to pay attention to this month. So let's look at the cards that I pulled. So first we have the Six of Pentacles. And by the way, this is from, let me show you first. This is from the Light Seers Tarot by Chris Ann. I've been using this deck at home for a long time. Typically, we've been using the Star Tarot by Kathy McClelland, which I still love. But for August, I felt we needed to go to this deck. So you see the Six Pentacles. Pentacles have to do with the earth element, our material existence, money, home life, our physical bodies, safety. So a lot of first, second, and third chakra issues have to do with the earth element and pentacles. Actually, mainly just the first chakra. But this card, you see, and I love this deck because the imagery is so clear what this card is about. You see that one of the hands is in a position of receiving or giving. It's actually lifting up. And then the one on top is picking one. It's receiving. But it can also, you could see it the other way, that the one on top is giving one to the hand below, and the one below is receiving. And you can feel how abundant this is. You see the figure 8 in the background, the infinity. It's like this constant cycle of giving and receiving. That's what it is to feel true abundance. But I feel like this card is related to this message and about picking our thoughts wisely. What are you choosing? What are you receiving? And then what are you sending back out into the world? And this will affect your abundance. This will affect your life circumstances because again, your thoughts are the seeds of all action. Okay, next card, and I loved seeing this so much. It was a great confirmation. The Ace of Swords. So the swords is also air element, like Aquarius, and you see her mind, the nautilus, the pathway, symbolizing a journey, and there's light shooting out from the center. This symbolizes the higher mind, clarity. And let me just show you briefly, because I made this essential oil blend earlier that I'm giving to my clients who come into the clinic for full moon sessions tomorrow and also August 2nd. It's a blend called Clarity. So this card was super exciting to receive. So it's opening up to the higher mind that we're being encouraged to do. Letting the higher mind lead. Letting it pull our ego-driven mind out of the gutter. Okay, and then we have the Queen of Wands. Look how joyful she is. So this is spending time in solitude, and she's creating. Wands is the fire element, so this is spiritual connection. Yeah, I also said this was, it looks like she's having an interiorized experience still, even though fire is more extroverted. Again, she's by herself. She's like so pleased with this magic that she's connected to, that she's creating. Not dependent on other people, not even interested maybe in sharing it with other people. This is a connection to herself. And this is the Queen of Wands, divine feminine. Okay, so I feel like that's all I want to say. I want to lead you now through a brief meditation, and we're going to get into this deeper. So if you can, come into a comfortable seated position. So if you're sitting in a chair, you can make sure you have your feet flat on the floor, or you can cross your legs in your chair or sit on the floor with crossed legs, or even on the heels or in between the feet. And then closing your eyes, we'll take a few slow, deep, even breaths. So as you turn your mind inward, you're noticing what you're seeing, feeling, sensing on the inside. And listening to the sound of the bowl from the beginning to the end. Let this sound lead you in even deeper. Now, it's important when we're working with the mind in meditation that we ground first. So it's hard for a lot of people to have a bigger perspective on the meditation. They get too stuck in their head. And it's hard to get beyond intrusive thoughts. So first feel the breath moving deep in the body. You feel it moving in the lower belly, in the hips, in the pelvis. Breathe into your legs. Breathe into your feet. Breathe into the floor and the earth beneath it. And the breath being the sacred connection to life that is symbolic of giving and receiving. Take in breath, we take in life. We let go what we don't need. And that energy can be reused by the earth, by the trees. Connect in with your breath, this inner wind, this inner symbol of the air element. And then we'll bring your attention to the heart space. Notice any feelings that are sitting on the heart. And with your attention here, and also breathing life into the heart, into these feelings, you may notice that some just change. They shift, they go away when they're given attention. There are others that may grow. We're combining the physical and our emotional experience in this present moment. And now let's bring your attention to the head. So awareness right in the center of the head. But even feel how with your posture here, you're aligning the center of the head with the center of the chest and the center of the hips. So you're staying very in touch with the heart and the body. The mind is not ruling here. The mind is just observing. And what we're going to tap into now is this experience of the mind watching the mind. It comes easily with a dedicated meditation practice. But again, some of you may not have as much experience with this, and so I'm going to help you with a visualization. So you're feeling yourself, you're feeling your form. See if you can project out from the heart an image of yourself who is older, who is wiser, who is everything you are wanting to grow into. She is powerful. She knows herself, but is still very caring and in touch with others. So it's not self-centeredness, but knowing herself, feeling that love, so she knows what it's like to be in that type of relationship with other people. So how do you feel about this woman before you? Do you admire her? Do you look up to her? Do you respect her? This is your higher self. So it's very interesting if there's anything about her you're rejecting. Now we're going to switch places. So you're going to move your attention into your higher self. Attention into your higher self, looking back on who you are right now. What is the higher self thinking about this woman before her? What does she see in this woman that your present self cannot see? From her wisdom, from experience, all the growth she's experienced, makes her able to tune in to what is truly helpful, what is truly needed for your present self to grow. Because she was in the place you were now. She knows the path to the higher self. So your higher self looking back on the present version of yourself. She can be asking, what can this woman pay more attention to? How can she experience her life as being precious? Where does she need to place her mind in order to get back on this path? Your higher self knows the answers, so you can listen for that answer. So is there a way she needs to change her mindset or her habits in order to appreciate her life more? Maybe your higher self wants you to watch less TV and to watch your mind more. Maybe your higher self wants you to learn, to expand your mind, to open up to greater possibilities, to use your mind in a more creative, positive way. When we're listening to the higher mind, we're trusting and we feel that we're supported, that we're loved. We're grateful that these answers, these perspectives are given to us. So if you're feeling guilty or fearful again, that's the ego trying to drag you back down to what's familiar. Saying, but, this is important. Or this is more fun. Isn't that what life's about? There's joy in growing. That's what you're going to experience this month. The clarity that comes when you listen to the higher mind more. When you're able to trust that. Now, baby, you could see both women, your higher self and your present self. So now you're more in this third person perspective, looking at both of you from the side. And look at the love that connects both of you. Can you feel it between both of you? Now you can let this imagery dissolve. Feeling back into the spaciousness of the mind, the freedom there. Deep breaths again as you open up your senses to the room around you. Then opening your eyes again as you feel ready. How do you feel, friends? I feel like I want a lot more. I feel like I don't want to open my eyes. And that's a good meditation, when you can get into that zone. So I hope this was helpful. I highly suggest you take some time to journal right now and really consider what more you can be paying attention to and the mindset shifts that you need in order to shift and change. Okay? So let me know, friends, if you have any questions. You could put them in the comments below. Thank you so much for joining me today. I look forward to connecting with you again soon. Goodbye.